So this TikToker, let's call her Spirit. One day, she's in bed and she starts seeing these creatures, and they start talking to her. Now, Spirit is 14 years old, she's a good kid, she goes to private school, she's class president, and she also makes a lot of TikToks. Mostly just dancing and lip-syncing videos. Spirit also has an older sister. Let's just call her Angel. Angel's 19, and she has cerebral palsy, and she uses a wheelchair. And when Spirit and Angel hang out, Spirit sings her songs and reads to her. They seem to be happy. But over time, Spirit's TikToks start to change. They get a little darker, kind of an emo vibe, because she's being bullied at school. She's becoming depressed. She also thinks she might be trans, but it isn't clear. And so Spirit retreats more and more into the horror movies she likes, and she starts to have dark, intrusive thoughts. And one day, Spirit has a normal day. She goes to school, she gets home, she posts a TikTok, and bedtime comes and she goes to bed and everyone in the house is asleep. And that is when she's approached by these creatures. And I don't know what to call them, so we'll just call them demons. And these demons, they start speaking to her. Now, Spirit doesn't like this. It scares her. She doesn't know what to do. Then the demons start bullying her. They're making fun of the way she looks, they're taunting her for maybe being trans, and they allegedly start telling her to hurt herself. So Spirit gets out of bed and she sneaks through the dark and she goes downstairs. She goes to the kitchen and grabs a large kitchen knife, and the demons keep taunting her. So finally, Spirit does the only thing she can think of. She turns the knife on one of the demons and she stabs it, hoping it'll go away. And she does this over and over again. And eventually she stops and she looks down and realizes she wasn't stabbing a demon. She had been stabbing her sister, Angel. So Spirit calls 911. Then she goes out into the front yard and waits for the police. Police get there and she straight up admits it. I unalived my sister. So they arrest her and it's a huge deal, and all her TikTok followers are like, what the f***? And eventually, all of this goes to trial. And at the trial, Spirit's attorney argues a version of the story I just told you. That Spirit killed Angel because Spirit was depressed, experiencing hallucinations, which I represented with pictures of demons, but who knows what the hell she was seeing. Now, the prosecuting attorney, on the other hand, they argue that's bullshit. That this wasn't because of hallucinations, and that Spirit was obsessed with homicide, and that she would often talk to her friends about unaliving people, and that she shows no remorse in killing her sister. And allegedly, when Spirit was in police custody, an officer's phone rings, and his ringtone is the theme to Halloween, and Spirit jokes, I just Michael Myers my sister. And then another time while in police custody, police gave her McDonald's, and she said, I would have killed someone sooner if I knew I was getting McDonald's. And so the prosecuting attorneys use all of these things against Spirit in court. However, both prosecution and defense agree that Spirit is mentally unwell. So Spirit is tried as an adult, and eventually she pleads guilty to third-degree murder, and here's her mugshot, and she's in prison now, serving 12 to 40 years. And to this day, we still don't exactly have a clear understanding of why she did it. Do you remember when a bunch of billionaires died and like the whole internet celebrated? Well, it all starts with this guy. His name's Stockton. And Stockton is a pilot and an engineer, but what he really wants to do is explore the universe, like Captain Kirk on Star Trek. But one day in 2004, when he's 42 years old, he decides to do just that. Except he's gonna start specifically underwater. And so he starts renting private submarines to travel down into the deep. And he is shocked at how few submarine rentals there are out there. And so after a little research, he starts thinking, hey, I'll build a private submarine myself and I'll let people rent it from me. So in 2009, that's what he does. Stockton starts his own company, OceanGate.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate.
Then in 2016, he and OceanGate start taking tourists in a small submarine to tour underwater ruins from this Italian shipwreck. That's pretty cool. But that's apparently not enough for Stockton. He's thinking bigger. He wants to take tourists down to a destination that's really hard to get to. A destination that's gonna get his company a lot of buzz and attention. That destination, the wreckage of the Titanic. And so Stockton gets to work, and he starts designing a submarine that can withstand the pressure of the ocean at 13,000 feet deep. And old school standard submarines, they're too expensive and way too big. And Stockton, he wants his to be cheap. And so, boom, he starts building it. He apparently cuts some corners on the material he uses on it, and he adds a bunch of other pre-made parts so that OceanGate can save some money. And he also installs a Logitech video game controller to steer it. Now, he does get a lot of criticism for this, but I actually looked into it, and it's apparently not uncommon to use Logitech video game controllers to control certain parts of submarines. So he's not entirely crazy for installing one on his, apparently. Anyway, once it's built, he calls this new submarine
Titan.
and it ends up being about the size of an SUV. And so Stockton tests the Titan without anyone inside to see if it can withstand the pressure, and actually, it holds up. And so it looks like his dreams are gonna come true. He's actually gonna get to explore the ruins of the Titanic. Until... not everyone is on board with Stockton's Titanic submarine plans, particularly this guy, David. And David is an employee at OceanGate. And so David looks at the Titan and he immediately sees some things that could ultimately turn into a leak. And so David lets it be known, and he brings all these serious safety concerns up in a meeting with all the bosses at OceanGate. He's like, this sub, it isn't strong enough. And he insists that they get it inspected and certified by the American Bureau of Shipping to verify that it's safe and up to standard. But I guess Stockton is like, nah, that won't be necessary, because he feels that most accidents are caused by mistakes made by the operator, not by the equipment. And so getting extra inspections won't really matter. And then, boom, they immediately fire David and they give him 10 minutes to clear out his desk, and then they escort him out of the building. I guess they really did not like being questioned. Regardless, now that no one is poking holes in this business plan, Stockton can move forward with testing the Titan with an actual human inside, and of course he insists on taking it down first, by himself. And so he takes the Titan down, and everything seems to be going fine. But then, once the Titan is around 10,000 feet down, suddenly, bam, it loses all communication with the support crew on the surface. But Stockton, he isn't scared. He's down in the submarine looking out the little window and seeing all this magical deep sea shit that makes him feel like he's finally living his childhood dream of becoming Captain Kirk. But anyway, he eventually pilots the sub back up until he gets communication back. Now, that little test run would suggest that this sub isn't exactly safe. But old Stockton, he doesn't seem to be bothered by this. In fact, at one point, he's quoted as saying, you know, at some point, safety is just pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed. Oh boy. So anyway, in 2021, Stockton and OceanGate start taking tourists down to see the wreckage of the Titanic, all for the low, low price of $250,000 a person. So basically, you gotta be super wealthy to engage in this. And they take, I believe, 13 expeditions down to see the wreckage, and most of these trips are, in fact, successful. However, they do lose communication with the surface a bunch of times during some of them, and apparently the Titan has over 118 different major and minor technical issues, including one time the battery died and passengers got trapped inside the sub for 27 whole hours. Which is definitely enough to make me say, fuck all that, but I don't know, I guess these billionaires are just built different because they keep paying the money and they keep going. And by 2023, Stockton and his company OceanGate, they're getting a lot of attention from the news media. So this is great for him. I mean, more media means more attention and therefore more customers. And so that summer, Titan heads out for its next expedition. Another trip to see the Titanic. And 5 people are supposed to go on this trip. Stockton and 4 others. And they aren't all billionaires. Only 2 of them are actually billionaires. One of them is actually one of the billionaire's 19-year-old son, and one of the guys is a Titanic expert. And so all 5 of these people get in the sub, and it takes off, and it starts to submerge. And everything's going fine. And over an hour goes by, and so far, so good, everything's going as planned. In fact, the sub sends a message to the support crew on the surface saying, all good here. And so, I assume they're all chilling in this tiny little sub, looking out the windows or whatever, checking out the fish. And then, suddenly, out of nowhere, boom, they lose power. And the Titan slowly tilts, and it starts to nosedive toward the ocean floor. And all the passengers are now sitting in the pitch dark like, what the fuck is going on? And this goes on for about 60 seconds. And now they're panicking. Like, why did they lose power? Is this the end for them? And then, boom, the Titan implodes. And it crushes everyone like a soda can. I guess it wasn't constructed right, and it was under too much underwater pressure. and all 5 people on board die instantly. And it's not dramatic, it's not long and drawn out suffering, it's instant death within milliseconds. So they felt nothing. And here is actually footage of a piece of the sub they later found on the ocean floor. Now, there is some speculation that the 5 passengers did not lose power before the sub imploded, that it just imploded instantly and there was no panicking and no darkness or anything like that. But the truth is, we actually don't know for sure. And so then this story breaks and it's all over the news. And then the internet hears about it and they are ruthless. Like they fucking celebrated these 5 people's demise. Do you remember that? Like the general consensus when this happened was, yeah, fuck those billionaires. Like they deserved it. Like what? And people are like making memes out of it? Tons of memes. Like these people were just trying to explore the ocean and the internet is over here dancing on their grave. It was wild.